All right, welcome everybody to the Finance for Teachers video blog. Thank you for joining us for another session. You'll see this one looks a little different. We are doing an interview today, and we're doing an interview about the topics of insurance. Now with me today is a gentleman called Matt Backe. I don't bring regular Joes on here. Matt and I know each other personally. We live on the same street. We are part of the same homeowners organization on the board. Our kids go to the same daycare. Our wives are all teachers. I mean, we're almost like brothers, just from different mothers. So I'm going to let Matt introduce himself professionally, kind of give you some insight into him. And we are going to cover the 3 tips that teachers need to follow with their insurance. So if you're thinking of, do I have enough? Do I have the right type? We're going to cover that today and also give you some good pointers as well. So Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, and thanks for involving me. I, again, very much appreciate that. Again, my name is Matt Backe. I am an account executive with Lundstrom Insurance here in Elgin, Illinois. I specialize in both personal and commercial insurance and been with Lundstrom for about 3.5 years. Aside from that, been in the insurance industry since fresh out of college, so it's all I've ever known from a professional standpoint.
Great. And I work with Matt personally. I also work with him with clients, so I have no doubt in his abilities here. So Matt, in your professional opinion, let's jump right into these 3 tips.
Sure.
What do you think is the top thing that retiring teachers need to think about with insurance?
It's a good question. And particularly for retiring teachers, I would think that at that stage in life, you're accruing assets, you've put a lot of money into pension plans, perhaps other retirement accounts in order to have your nest egg ready. I would say that as you're doing that and accumulating wealth is to make sure that your personal insurance program kind of grows in lockstep with that. And in particular, a personal umbrella policy is a really nice and typically, in the grand scheme of things, inexpensive way to be sure that those assets are there and not going to be potentially taken away should something happen, be it either a very bad car accident or some sort of an accident at the home. Because lawsuits happen, unfortunately, and this is a good way to add layers of protection to your overall insurance portfolio.
Okay. I'm going to throw a wild one at you. Is there
Sure.
a certain, a sweet spot of where someone would consider that type of insurance?
Most insurance really every insurance policy, both auto and homeowners, your basic, does provide some liability coverage. It's just that sometimes you just have to do some self-monitoring to be sure that it's enough. And typically the rule of thumb in insurance speak is just typically you want to have enough liability coverage to protect your net worth. And obviously there's a lot of things that go into your net worth. So ways to, again, grow with your accumulation of wealth throughout time is via the umbrella policy.
Okay. All right. Now you mentioned homeowners insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's something that, in my job, I look at everyone's homeowners insurance, and I know that you probably review homeowners insurance too with reviews.
Yes.
What is one thing that you see in homeowners insurance that people overlook?
Good question. Really good question. And it really depends because each person obviously is different. Each one has their own, needs and exposures and things that they care about. But what I see consistently, perhaps underinsured more than anything, would be certainly water backup. There's coverages that's typically built in, and again, each carrier does it differently. However, there's coverage that is available called sump, sewer, drain backup, which gives protection should that exact same thing happen. And oftentimes, especially folks with finished basements, or perhaps they store a bunch of things in their basement even if it isn't finished, it just tends to be a point that's very, very underinsured often. And it's a good speaking point to just simply bring it up to inform people. Aside from that, I would just say, too, it's a matter of almost doing a constant review with folks. Again, as you go through life, you tend to accumulate things. You have kids, they have stuff. And so you just want to make sure, again, that your insurance program kind of grows with you. Again, you want to be sure and guard against overinsuring because there's no sense in paying money for something that you perhaps don't have. However, it is something to monitor closely.
Okay. That's good because I know that we've both got kids and they're both going to get expensive stuff starting off soon. So
From their grandparents.
Of course. Now tying into that, something that I've looked in personally just due to some inclement weather we have in Illinois.
Mhm.
How does flood insurance work with homeowners insurance? I mean, is it all tied to one? Is it different? I mean, how does it really work?
It's a great question. Again, it almost to a degree ties into what I just mentioned as far as the backup of water sewer. And kind of give you a high level of the differences and whatnot, because oftentimes when there is a bad weather event and people get water in, they start to ask these questions. And unfortunately, it's after the fact that they ask these questions. But flood insurance is something that typically is excluded on every single homeowner's policy.
Okay.
It's a separate policy that is purchased. A, it's expensive. B, it tends to come with high deductibles. And C, it doesn't give you the best coverage. It's really there to kind of give you something in the event of something catastrophic.
Okay.
Most homeowners policies will give you, as I had mentioned, a degree of water backup, something like that. However, that's not for surface water coming in, which would be deemed a flood. This would be simply for perhaps, let's say, that there was such an inundation of water that the sewer system couldn't handle it and it backed up. Or your sump, because the power went out, failed, and now water's coming up through there.
Okay.
Up to a certain limit, that could be something that's potentially covered depending on the homeowner's program.
That's why you're the expert in these kind of things, because that is something that people don't think about. Like you said, they think about it when it happens.
Correct.
And they go and look at their policy and say, "Oh, shoot, maybe this wasn't covered, and I should have looked at this during the summer when I had no risk of it at all."
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. All right, my final question for you,
Sure.
and you touched on it when you were talking about umbrella insurance.
Mhm.
Over my career, I've worked with a number of different people, teachers, and lots of other executives. This seems to be the thing that people overlook the most, in my opinion, from working with people.
Yes.
What's your take on umbrella insurance and why it's so important?
Yeah, I would definitely echo your sentiment that it is often overlooked. And it's certainly a talking piece that I have with really truly everyone, even folks that are just first-time home buyers, up into folks that have a high degree of net worth, because it still is worth at least the discussion. Now, again, it goes back to simply providing additional layers of protection to protect your assets. At the end of the day, that's what an umbrella policy is it's giving you additional layers of coverage, because you don't want to have to start over. That's kind of my point that I make with folks is if something bad happens, there's a bad accident, something happens at the home, someone slips and falls and really injures themselves badly, lawsuits happen, unfortunately, and especially in the United States. And you don't want to have to start over. And that's what the umbrella coverage is there to do, is to provide you the ability to not have to start over.
Great. And like you said, no one wants to do that. You want to
Correct.
keep what you've got.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, my aim of today was keeping it short and sweet. I think you've done a great job of covering those 3 points. And I'm going to put your contact details along with this video. If anyone has any further questions on this, they can reach out to me or they can reach out to you as well.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for your time, Matt. I know that your time is valuable, so I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
Very welcome.
And I am sure that we'll see you in the future.
Absolutely. I know where you live.
All right. Thanks
Thanks,
so much,
Dave.
Matt.
Take care. Bye-bye.